Good morning. You and I need to talk because change is accelerating, but change needs to be steered because progress and regress are really close cousins. And a lot of the skills and habits we use to steer change today were built for a different speed. It's sort of like driving a 34 Chevy on a modern freeway. No power steering, no power brakes, and in this case, there's no off-ramp for us. Now, my grandfather, when he was 74, put a V8 engine in his 34 Chevy. More about him later. My work and research centers on two questions. What are the skills and habits we need for today's speeds? And where are we going to learn them? For example, where do I learn how to introduce my child to the internet in a safe way? Where do I learn how to run or work in an organization when change is constant and pervasive? How do I nudge my family, my community, my country, even my world, toward greater freedom, equality, or beauty? There are answers to these questions. So some of them might include giving people better internet access or more internet access so that they can learn, or reforming formal education so that we can teach these new skills that keep coming. Or maybe it's doing more research. I'd like that. But more and more, I'm becoming convinced that the answers to these questions are in you, and in you, and you, I can't see you, and you, that progress pivots on how well we learn from and teach each other. I'm convinced that we must become everyday mentors and everyday learners. Because at these speeds, wisdom moves in right next door to you. And we must mentor and learn every day. Because at these speeds, good habits become great allies. Now, I've been working on this thing called the Million Skills Project with this fantastic team. And there's two parts to this project. We've started with 50 mentors, that we call them. They're people who are doing really well at today's speeds. And we're sifting out their knowledge. We're trying to understand how they do what they do and how we can learn to do what they do as well. That's the sifting part. The lifting part is we are building a digital platform and we're bringing together a community of learners dedicated to learning these skills together and practicing them. Now, we've learned a lot of things through this project. And one of the things that we're learning is that there are challenges for everyday mentors and learners, for all of us. One of them is surveying. And you can think of it like this. If you see a car or drive a car that's really good on the highway and it's really good at maintaining a level, path and it's got good pickup and all that stuff, it may not be obvious from looking at the car from the outside why that car is so good. There might be stuff inside. Maybe it's the suspension. Maybe it's who knows? There are a lot of things about that car that you can't tell from the outside. When you look at somebody who's doing really well in today's world, the mentors that we've been doing the SIFT process with, the same is true. Oftentimes what you see on the outside is not what's helping them to be really good at what they do. Let me give you a little example. Now, behind the obvious abilities that Sarah has, which are really good, to quickly get into a really chaotic situation in business or in education, and figure out what's going on, what's really going on in the situation. We found something else. She's got this deep humility that allows her to quickly ask lots of questions when she gets into those situations, and then more quickly learn to adapt. Here's another person, Chris Eller, that we did this SIFT process with. Some of you may recognize him. Behind his obvious ability to work with technology like this 42 million pixel IQ wall that's in the background, what helps him to do that well is he starts his projects with thought experiments, imaginative ideas to see what might work. Here's Eric Stolterman. Behind his obvious abilities as a philosopher, a writer, a teacher, and a mentor at Indiana University School of Informatics is his ability to accept the fear of not knowing things. So if one of the challenges is surveying and seeing these skills from the outside, a second is, once you do see these skills, sifting them out of somebody and making them your own. Let me give you an example. These are photos of my grandfather, the one who put the V8 in the 34 Chevy. One thing you should know about Howard Briggs is that he quit school in the 8th grade, and to quote him, the reason was that he had taught the teachers everything they needed to know by that point. Another thing you should know is that he ended his career, he retired as the head mechanic of a very large fire department in Massachusetts. He also built 22 houses, hundreds of pieces of custom furniture, and he also restored multiple vehicles, including that 34 Chevy and a 1929 Maxim fire engine. Now, I worked on a lot of projects with Howard, and if you were to give me a Briggs and a lawnmower, your Briggs and Stratton lawnmower here, and ask me to fix it, you would probably end up with a very nice Briggs and Stratton lawn ornament at the end of it. Now, why is that? Why can't I do what my grandfather could do? Well, I could reproduce the procedural steps of how he did what he did. But it was really hard for me to get inside his brain and understand the skills and habits, the thousands that went on in his head, where he could magically figure out what was wrong with an engine. Or, and I'm not joking here, plan an entire house on pieces of scrap paper. But what if I had asked him better questions? And what if all of us started asking each other better questions too? So change is accelerating, and progress pivots on how well we teach and learn from each other. And there are challenges to this. So this isn't some utopian vision. This is a call to action. Ask each other better questions so that we can steer change. And I want to show you 2 ways to do this. The first is follow the Million Skills Project, where we are working on this challenge. And the second is, I would like to show you how you can do this today. And to do this, I would like to introduce a member of our Million Skills Project team, David Pace. So David, if I run into one of these good people at lunch, and they have a skill that I really want to learn, like maybe they're really good at running online meetings, what do I have to do to make sure that goes well, or what should I avoid, things that could trip up that conversation?
Well, people often try to take in the entire process of everything the person does, and it's too much. So they need to zero in on a particular set of operations that that person's an expert at, and then go in depth in defining what are all the steps that person does to do what they're so good at, and continuing until you yourself in your mind could do the operation or teach it to somebody else. And you have to be real careful to not leave black boxes unopened.
Black boxes. What do you mean by that?
Well, imagine you're dealing with somebody about web meetings, and they said, you have to communicate this to the team. And you let it pass. Well, you've missed a crucial step. You've not opened up the box because there's a lot of steps within that. So you might ask them, how did you know that this was something you needed to share with the team? How did you know that that was something you didn't need to share with the team? How did you think about the way in which the technical means of communication were going to affect what that message was? How did you reconstruct what the experience of the listener was? Because all of those are crucial parts of that skill, but they can be missed if you don't keep asking questions and going deeper and deeper.
Like the one I'm about to ask? So how do you do that? And when do you know you've hit the last black box, when you've opened enough black boxes that you've learned what you need?
Well, in a sense, you never completely do it. But if you have confidence that you could teach somebody else steps that most people don't know, then you can share this, and we can begin to spread those skills that now a few experts have.
Okay. I think I'm ready for lunch. So I want to point out that if you do this process that we just did, or something like it, you're doing the everyday mentoring and everyday learning that I'm talking about. Actually, more than that, you are steering change in a better direction. So, I'll see you at lunch.